What's up, YouTube? I'm going to take this time to talk about these the gang stalking and what it is or what it isn't, because well, the gang stalking definitely takes place, definitely, without a doubt. But what they're doing is, I have a theory that they're doing something else, and they're using gang stalking as a disguise. They want you to think that it's gang stalking because somebody just has a grudge, something against you, and because it's really hard to prove. So then they're not looking in the right place. When my theory is this is clearly much bigger than gang stalking. If you're a targeted individual, you know what I'm talking about. The amount of resources and people involved, this is way bigger. There has to be a lot of money at stake. It has to be. I mean, that's the only motivator that would motivate all these people to do this. And I'm thinking that it is absolutely data collection. They have to collect data on a person. Now, to be able to collect all this data on one person without them knowing, right, you would need damn near a whole town of people to do it, right? Now, if you're in the city, obviously there's more targeted individuals in the city, right? But if you are like me in a small town, okay, maybe there is a couple. I doubt, if I had to guess, the amount of targeted individuals that actually figure it out, or that they kind of they figure out that something's going on, is probably a very small percentage compared to the amount of people they do this to. So they're collecting data on massive amounts of citizens, U.S. citizens, okay? Now, if they're collecting data on a bunch of U.S. citizens, right, they're going to pick people that they can easily discredit, right? People that have been in trouble with the law. People that are on paper already, right? Because they can easily discredit them. They can throw them away whenever they need to. Because remember, this is not like they're ever going to come out and say, okay, we were doing this, now we're done. No. Everything they're doing is just to work out the kinks and to work out the glitches so they can bring it to market. And so they have something to show their potential buyers of the technology. It's a race to see who can perfect the technology first. And now I think we're already past that. I think there's a number of big corporations that have the technology, and they're in the testing phases, right? And they're testing it for the use cases. They want to be able to show, okay, this could be used for this, or this, okay? And then, obviously, for marketing purposes, they want to be able to show that it's effective, right? So there's where the targeted individual comes in. The targeted individual is who they're collecting all this data on. And they're showing, look, we can use this technology to ruin a person's life. We can get them to think whatever we want, right? We can get them to believe this. We can get them to believe that. If you want to, just like, have you ever watched the movie Inception? Okay, now the movie Inception, it's the same idea. They go into a person's subconscious. They go into, they all go to sleep, and they all enter the one person's mind in their dream, in the subconscious, right? And the idea is you can plant a seed deep in somebody's subconscious. And if you plant the seed, deep enough in the subconscious, or you can convince the target of this idea. You get them to come up with it on their own. You get them to think that it's their idea. just by influencing them, right? It's influence. Just like the movie Inception. All you got to do is get in there and plant the seed in the right place. And make sure it's strong enough. Make sure that seed is strong enough that it's going to take. So that's what I believe that they're doing with these with targeted individuals. And it's fucking working. It's effective. Look how many targeted individuals I believe are actual targeted individuals. But on YouTube, they get them to go against other targeted individuals. So here's people that have a common, they have a common, one thing that brings them all together. There's a common thread that brings all targeted individuals together. Anybody who experiences this, they can all relate to each other. And something like that can really bring people together. So here's targeted individuals going on YouTube trying to do that, trying to come together to find information, trying to help other targeted individuals. If you're a TI, that's what you're going to do. You would stand up for a total stranger against somebody you've known your whole life if you know they're a TI, because you know what they go through. You know what they've been through. You know what they're going through right now. You can relate, and your heart goes out to that person. You feel for them so much, and you know what they're going through, so you are going to back that person up, even against somebody you've known your whole life. Now, maybe not your brother or your family member, your best friend, but still, you get what I'm saying. There's that common denominator that bonds people together under one umbrella. So even though that's the case, even though these TIs online are trying to come together, somehow they're still able to get in there and try to divide. They're still able to get in there and divide all these TIs. They're able to influence the targeted individual to psychologically manipulate the target into being so paranoid that he's skeptical of everybody. A person's not going to do this and they're not going to do that unless they're a perp, right? Well, when you look at the whole big picture, I mean, you could make up fucking explanations to call anybody a perp if you really want to. You can convince yourself that somebody's a perp if you really want to. Really, it's your mind doing it to yourself. So, I believe that anybody that goes on YouTube and is purposely calling out other TIs, saying they're fake, saying that these TIs are fake, they're 100% fake, like Conspiracy Underground. He goes on here and says, "Oh, that person's 100% fake. I'm sure of it because they don't have a story, or because they do this or they do that." Then he turns around and contradicts himself and says that they're a perp because they do the opposite. It's I can see it now. It's clear as day. So Conspiracy Underground, either he is a plant, or, now hear me out here, or it's the technology. He is a TI, and they just have him so manipulated and so influenced that he really believes this stuff in his own head. Maybe he really does believe this, and maybe he really is a target. Now, why is that so hard to believe? I mean, that makes sense to me. That makes more sense than any of this. That they're doing this to these targets in order to be able to show use cases for the consumer that they're going to market it to. Look, we can take these people that are bonded together, that are trying to come together, and we can separate them this easy. We can cause conflict between them this easily with this technology. See what it can do? See how powerful it is? See how valuable it is? And ours is better than theirs because we can do this with it, we can do that with it. I mean, the use cases are endless if you accept the possibility that this technology exists. Okay, the low frequency brain influence, like voice to skull. But it's just the technology is just getting in there and making you think that your thoughts are it's making you think that what they're influencing as your own thoughts, and it's not. They're throwing out the ideas. They're throwing out all of these ideas to get you to think and be skeptical of all these other TIs, so that you don't come together. So that for one thing, so that we don't figure it all out, right? Because when you come together, you're much more powerful. You can do a lot more when you come together under a common goal. So it's clear as day to anybody who looks at this can see that there is some kind of outside influence that is dividing the targeted individual community on YouTube and everywhere else, for that matter. And they want to call it persecutory delusions as another way to explain away, this stuff. But nobody wants to say what causes that. What causes these persecutory delusions? How come all these targeted individuals can trace it back to a certain point in time where all of a sudden they wake up one day and boom, all this shit starts happening to them? Because it's not a psychological disorder. They're not crazy. It's somebody, that's when their targeting started. They're targeted by this technology and by these groups, which are under, I believe that they're under orders from their corporations. It's not the government per se doing it. Now, the government might have a hand in it, but it's in the private sector. It's definitely in the private sector, because they wouldn't be able to cover it up as good as they are unless it was in the private sector. They did the same thing with aerospace research and development. They give it to the private industry so then they can cover it up better and keep it private. They don't have to disclose what they're doing. Okay? Now, this fucking vehicle better stop. I think they meant to get in front of me. Sorry. But that's my theory. It kind of makes everything make sense, don't you think? And what they're doing by the following you around and everything is to get you to think a certain thing. They're mapping out your individual brain signature, okay? Because they can get your data. So they got your data, but they need people to throw these things in front of you, right? To get you to think certain things, very, very specific things, like the red shirt, red car, all these patterns and symbols. If they can get you to think a certain thing, right, and then link it with the data they're grabbing, then they can decode your brain signature, just like decoding an old ancient language or something, like an unknown language. It's not that hard to see. How did Zechariah Sitchin decode the cuneiform, the Sumerian text, right? They had to start somewhere. They had to know that this symbol meant this, and they had to start somewhere. So just imagine that they have everybody's brain data. They're capturing everybody's brain data, but everybody's is a little bit different, right? It's kind of the same patterns, but everybody's brains are wired differently. So imagine that they got your data. Now they need to figure out what that data means, right? So they throw something in front of you that's very specific. It's weird, right? The shit that they do is completely weird. That's the only way they can get you to think something that can't be mistaken as something else. Well, it's something that's blatant, right in your face, and it's very, very specific. And it's weird, because they want you to think a certain thing so that they can link that up with your brain data and say, okay, now we know this means this. Think about it. And there's people even saying it. People that work on this technology are even saying it. That's what they're trying to do right now. That is what they're doing. Now, what is known is that the military is doing this research and development right now. The military is working on this kind of technology right now. That's known. That is known. What is unknown is how they're doing it. The type of technology that they're using. Now, of course, there's speculation and there's theories and there's people that have come out and said, they're using scalar wave technology and everything else. So yes, people know how they're doing it, but not publicly. They haven't come out and publicly said, okay, this is what we're doing and this is how we're doing it. That's where the military is doing this as weapons, research and development is as far as they're weaponizing this technology. And even the weapons are in the private industry. It's not public knowledge. You can't just go find out this shit. It is absolutely in the private sector. And I'm sorry, but there's an enormous amount of fucking traffic here. It's hilarious. It's a Wednesday afternoon at it's like 6 o'clock, but I'm sorry, this is more traffic than normal. This happens any time I go anywhere, I have traffic like this, right? Except for the other night whenever I get physically jumped and on Main Street in Patton, and then all of a sudden there's not a car in sight, not a person in sight for 10 minutes right in the middle of Main Street in Patton. How the fuck does that happen? You tell me. Almost like that was like set up. I can't help but think that. I'm open-minded. Maybe it wasn't. Sure makes sense if it was. So, this is just food for thought. I don't go around saying that I know what's going on. I just theorize. I ask the right questions. So, when you come across a TI channel that's telling you this is what they're doing and this is how they're doing it like they know, I just ask them, how the fuck do you know? How the fuck do you know? Because nobody knows, or else we wouldn't be asking these questions. Hey, look at that. Out-of-state plates. Michigan. Oh, there's the ambulance. With the sirens going. So the ambulance drive past with the sirens. Now, isn't that an easy one they can use? The police sirens and the ambulance. And then if they're grabbing my data right now, with this person in front of me with these out-of-state plates, if they're grabbing my data right now, and then they coordinate to make sure that ambulance, of course they're going to pull over because they got through the red light, right? So now they got to pull over and wait for me. So if they got that data right as the ambulance went by, and then they're going to link that data, and they're going to say, okay, this data means ambulance sirens. The fuck, this kid's running. Kid just comes around the corner and is running. I see this all the time. People running to their vehicles. This kid just ran to his vehicle beside me. He's right behind me in my blind spot. To my right. I don't know why. He must be in a hurry. He was running around the corner. And this shit's funny. Am I in the right lane? Yeah. So. These are just theories. Like I said, I don't know what's going on. I don't pretend to know what's going on. But that's what we have to do, is we have to brainstorm. And, if it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and fucking sounds like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's probably a fucking duck. I'm just saying. Keep it simple, people. Quit making it so complex. Just keep it simple. Keep it very, very simple. Right? Now, what makes sense? And this is all psychological warfare tactics that they use, because it's military, right? Psychological warfare tactics. So they're gonna, a lot of times it's not what it seems on purpose. Everything that they do is to get you to do something. Everything they do. Think about that. Everything that they do is to get a reaction out of you, get you to do something, get you to act a certain way. That's the whole fucking point. So whenever you recognize this and you understand it, then it's pretty easy. You just don't do what they want you to do. Simple as that. Just don't do what they want you to do. Do the opposite. And then make sure you speak out about it too. Share your ideas with other TIs. That's what I'm doing. I'm not claiming I know anything, you know, but I definitely am targeted. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just trying to help. I'm trying to put ideas out there. So, Conspiracy Underground, go fuck yourself if you want to call me a fucking perp. You know, because you're not helping the TI community by calling targeted individuals perps. Because then you're getting people to not listen to them. You're getting people against each other. That's not helping anybody. Sorry, buddy. That's not helping a damn thing. So, just ask, you know, say less until you know more. Everything I say is a theory. It's all theories. I don't know what's going on. We all need to emphasize that when we talk about this, because none of us know what's going on. These channels that people telling you what's going on, they don't know. If they act like they do know, like 100%, then, you know, you got to question that a little bit. What are they trying to get you to do? You got to look at the big picture, read between the lines. With that being said, be good or be good at it. Peace out.